Junior, Taylor Brooks, Emma Field, Dylan Rose, Alan McDonald, Rachel Bryan, sophomore, Cameron Boyd, Peyton Biggs, Lee Funker, Addison Howard, Mackenzie Monty, Anna Slater, Alexia Ware, and freshman, Annabelle Marshall, Lacey Dowd, Madison Humphrey, Sophia Glass, Timothy Johnson. Our work witness is Emily Black. Our work story is George Cox. As well as qualifying for the nation's dance team championship. The Indians are currently ranked in 5th place in the nation. Indians would like to thank the partner sponsors, Chick-fil-A of Port Walton, Bell Law Firm, and Mango Gestalt. Here will be dancing to a hip-hop routine tonight. The team is led by team captains Anita Johnson, Chelsea Money, co-captain Brooklyn Peters, squad leader Dave Simmons, and team members, Cindy Calderon, Carlton Carter, Rita Hollis, Abby Kincaid, Debbie Mitchell, Maddie Mock, Valerie Guzmo, Madison Spector. celebrating their 50th year at Choctaw. Commanding and carrying the U.S. flag, Cadet First Lieutenant Benicia Butler. The Florida State flag, Cadet First Lieutenant Alicia Singletary. The Choctaw High School flag, Cadet First Lieutenant Haley Smith. With rifles, Cadet First Lieutenant Diamond Gibson. And Cadet Staff Sergeant Tatiana Carpenter. Commanding the rifle team is Cadet First Lieutenant Michael Brown. Commanding the saber team is Cadet First Lieutenant John Cooper. Remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Virginia Watkins, ICC Chairperson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our national anthem will be played tonight by the combined Indian and Viking bands. Remain standing, please. Until the colors exit the field. Thank you. Association. Keeping our scoreboard tonight is Richard Coleman.
What's up, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Joe Etheridge Stadium, home of the Choctaw Big Green Indian football team. And this evening, the site of the 47th edition of the game, the one that matters all season long. The gents in green, the boys in blue, get ready to line up and try to claim supremacy of the Fort Walton Beach football scene. And this game is for everything. Overall victories, Choctaw leads 25-21. It's a 4-game margin. And those 4 games, you'll remember, all coming in the last 4 years, as Choctaw looks to notch number 5 in a row against their crosstown rivals. If Fort Walton Beach High School does not win tonight, it will mark 2 consecutive graduating classes of Vikings that will not have seen a single victory against their crosstown rivals. Both of these teams still in the playoff hunt. A victory tonight far from guarantees either team a spot, however, as both will need help in the form of a Pine Forest victory over Tate and at least 1 loss from Nice High School. But those are both very possible outcomes, meaning step 1 for either of these teams to make the playoffs is to get the job done here tonight. The Vikings coming off of a devastating upset loss to the Bay Tornadoes last week, who entered the game at 1-6. They would fall on the scoreboard 31-20 with the red and blue. The Vikings started well, opening with the 70-yard touchdown drive. It was a game that broke the spirit of the Vikings, but one that puts them on a warpath to end their season the best way they know how, by ending Choctaws as well. The Indians fared better last week, scoring on 7 of their 9 offensive possessions, with quarterback Brady Uten responsible for a combination of passing and running for 6 of them. In back-to-back weeks before that, the Indians fell to the 2 teams competing for a district crown tonight, Niceville and Crestview. But that victory, combined with the knowledge of the playoffs being in reach, and this rivalry game tonight, sets up the Indians to on screen now. 25 touchdowns on the year, and with the results of this game, a possibility of 2,000 rushing yards on the season, as well as 500 yards on the ground. Keep an eye also on wide receivers Zales Alexander, Marcus Malloy, and Xavier Kane Fuller, 3 of Uten's big targets, who have all come up with touchdown passes this year. Running back Reggie Fain, number 22, also a major part of the offense for Choctaw. On the flip side of the ball, wearing white this evening, Fort Walton Beach will rely on quarterback Brendan Carter, who's responsible for 8 touchdowns and an impressive 63% completion percentage. Running back Kenyon Redmond is averaging 140 rushing yards per game and has scored 11 times this year. With that being said, none of it matters. All that matters is what happens at the end of this matchup. Fort Walton Beach, Choctaw. The 47th edition of The Game starts right now. My name is Rob Brown. I will be your play-by-play announcer this evening, a graduate of the Choctawhatchee class of 2003. It is our pleasure to have you all with us this evening, streaming live on YouTube, courtesy of Hillary Brown and her WBGI staff, who have gone through quite a bit of trouble to make sure that this game appears live around the world. So to Big Greens Indians serving overseas here in Fort Walton Beach and all around the country, welcome. And to the field, we welcome your Choctawhatchee Big Green Indians, making their way to the sideline under the stars and stripes. This team seeking to end their season with back-to-back wins and a shot at the state playoffs. Fort Walton Beach again coming off of a loss last weekend against a very game Bay Tornadoes squad who came in with just 1 win on the season. Fort Walton Beach was a heavy favorite in that matchup, but a lot of fundamental mistakes would be their downfall. A number of interceptions dropped on the defensive side of the ball. Just a couple of turnovers by the offense were all the Tornadoes needed to sneak one away from Fort Walton Beach and put the playoffs that much further out of reach. On the other hand, the Choctaw Indians coming off of a big win against the Leon Lions right here at Etheridge Stadium. A win which saw a running clock in the second half. 3 straight weeks the Indians have played under a running clock. The first 2 weeks, victims on the wrong end of the scoreboard to a pair of district rivals. But last week, it all came together for the Big Green as Brady Uten put together drive after drive. 9 offensive possessions for the Indians. 7 of them would be put on the scoreboard. The Indians electing to receive to begin the game. Dropping back on the left-hand side of your screen will be number 22, Reggie Fain, a major playmaker for the Indians. On his left, number 9, D. Grant, a 6', 170-pound sophomore. Fort Walton Beach lining up for the kick, and we are just seconds away from getting this grudge match underway. Number 24 for the Vikings, Jacob Cabatana, is your kicker. He raises his hand. The whistle will get blown. And ladies and gentlemen, we got very excited there before the ball gets blown off the tee. Just a little bit of wind in the stadium tonight, blowing a couple of miles an hour out of the south side of the field. 73 degrees outside. You could not ask for more perfect football weather for what is the biggest game of these two teams' season. Coming up to put a finger on the ball for Fort Walton will be number 18, Charlie Rockwell. Goes from a coverage man to a holder, just enough of a breeze to require that extra little bit of assistance. Now, toe meets leather, and we're underway for number 47. Demetrian fumbles the ball, able to recover out across the 10, out across the 20, and finally driven hard to the ground at the 26-yard line. An impressive tackle there by number 9, Nico Bryant, for the Fort Walton Beach Vikings. He's a guy that they'll expect to make a number of plays this evening. So, Uten will take to the field as your starting quarterback. The Indians start play at their own 26-yard line. 1st and 10 as we are underway here at Joe Etheridge Stadium. Uten lines up in the shotgun formation. Twins to his left, a single receiver. He'll put a man in motion, and the handoff goes right up the middle to Fain, and Fain's got room to run out across the 37-yard line. The first down all the way out to the 40, and there is an impressive run from the young running back, a man whose name will be called many times this evening, number 22, Reggie Fain. Good for a 16-yard run to start the game. So first down for the Indians, all the way out to the 41-yard line. Fain back in formation next to Uten again. Another motion, a fake handoff to Fain. Uten's going to look down the field. He puts it up down the right-hand side. It is up in the air, and it is knocked away. Outstanding defensive effort there by the Vikings backfield. A pair of Vikings able to go up and knock the ball down at the highest point. On the initial defensive contact was number 32, Presley Blackburn. Uten was looking deep over the middle, but the Vikings defense ready for that first long toss. Uten will connect on 1 or 2 of those per game. He's a guy who's got a big-time arm, and if he's able to dump one of those in the bucket, he can gear the Indians' offense up with just a single pass. Conversation now taking place near the line of scrimmage between our back judge and our white hat referee. Flag down on the field against the Vikings. So we'll wait for the indication from our head referee as the Indians are going to mark off 15 yards on a personal foul, roughing the passer against the Fort Walton Beach Viking defense. So Uten cannot connect on the big play, but Fort Walton Beach gives him a free 15 anyway, and now the Indians in business all the way down at the 46-yard line of the Vikings. Uten with the handoff across the right-hand side. A good run, a good gain there across the 40-yard line. Goes the running back. Carrying the football on that Outstanding run right off guard. And you're going to see quite a bit of this out of Choctaw this evening. They will pull their backside guard and bring an extra blocker into formation. Fort Walton Beach with that 4-down lineman look to try to prevent that. There's the handoff to Fain. Fain's going to look, find a hole. The ball goes up in the air. It is a fumble picked up by the Vikings. Fain got hit hard. The ball popped straight up in the air, and the Vikings defense all over it with the recovery. Number 55, the big linebacker, Caleb Williams. He saw the ball pop up in the air after the 22 running back fumble. Reggie Fain is not going to put too many on the ground, but he did there, and the Vikings were quick to recover. So the Indians, after ceding the 15-yard penalty, after letting Choctaw march nearly 50 yards across midfield, come up with a big turnover, and now Fort Walton Beach is in business with 10:47 showing in the first quarter. That's a quarterback for the Vikings, number 6, Brendan Carter, 8 touchdowns on the year. He's going to turn and keep the ball, try to run the option up the middle. The fullback was hit immediately, so Carter will keep it. He scrambles, went to go right, too many Indians, so he turned around and came left and ends up picking up 5 yards on the run. A good nothing into something play for Brendan Carter. The Indian defense swarming on the left side. It caused Carter to read keep. Went to the right, nothing there. So here we go, 2nd down now, and we'll call it 6 for the Indians. There's a handoff up the middle to number 1, Kenyon Redmond, one of the stars of the Fort Walton Beach Viking offense. That's going to be a good carry for about 4 yards. Redmond's going to see quite a bit of action, again, averaging over 140 yards per game. The Indians are absolutely going to key in on Redmond. If he's able to slip one of those quick runs off tackle, he is very hard to catch. So the Vikings into a pass formation, the pistol formation. They'll run trip receivers to the right. Carter's going to throw, and he's got a man wide open in the flats, but unable to hang on to the football is Keyshawn Gant. Gant had Green ahead of him and was unable to hang on to the football in the flats. That's a difficult catch to make, as Gant was trying to turn back around to come back to the ball. Carter throwing the ball just a touch behind him. It caused the incompletion on that play. So the Indians will now have, the Vikings will now face 4th down into punt formation. And they do have the wind at their back, so a little assistance for the punter. There's the snap. The Indians rush, but they can't quite get there. Good punt. It's going to bounce at the 25-yard line, take a friendly Viking bounce and roll all the way down inside of the 20 down to the 18-yard line. And that is where the Indian offense will begin their 2nd possession of this contest. 9:44 showing in the first quarter. 0-0, says the scoreboard, as the game continues. Uten back into the shotgun. He's got Fain set to his left. Trip receivers on the top side of your screen. Newton is going to make the quick screen pass out to the receiver. It's a good catch. He's out across for about a 4-yard gain. That's going to be number 2, Marcus Malloy, with a 4-yard catch and run. It's a good start to this drive. They'll give him the extra yard, so we'll call it 5 yards for Malloy, making it 2nd down for the Indians. Number 3, Lenore Minardo checking out for the Indians. They'll go with a big set with an H-wing back. Fain in the background. He'll get the ball, runs right up the middle. Off guard, he's got room. Out to the 40-yard line. Dodges a tackle to the 45, a spin move, and out to the 46-yard line. A huge run of 26 yards for Reggie Fain, a man who is looking to make a mark on the game. He had the fumble on the Indians' first possession. Trying to make up for that with some hard running there was number 22. Reggie Fain checks in at 165 pounds, so not one of the bigger running backs, but certainly unafraid to go up against some of Fort Walton Beach's heavy hitters in the middle. And if Choctaw's going to run at you, they're going to run at you. Very few outside runs for the Indians. They like to keep it between the tackles. Uten takes the snap. He's going to, it's a pitch back, but the ball hits the turf. Saved by number 8, Tanner Pattison. A busted play there by the Indians. Uten was looking to set up the fake jet sweep, and the ball just got disconnected from the quarterback's hands. Number 8, Tanner Pattison, realizing what was happening, ran backwards and dove onto the football. So what was looking like a very, very momentum-gaining drive for the Indians, all of a sudden a busted play later, they're looking at second and about half a mile to convert the first down. Indians now from their own 29-yard line. Uten back in the shotgun with Fain. He's going to pitch it to the right side. Fain's going to pick a spot. He's got one out across the 45 to the 50-yard line. Reggie Fain with another big run there, and all of a sudden, second and forever turns into third and manageable for the Indians. As Fain gets the ball all the way out to midfield, he'll check out of the game. Looked like he might have put the ball on the turf there at the end of the run. He's getting some words of encouragement, we'll say, on the sideline from the Choctawhatchee coaching staff. Fain with a great run, but he's going to need to work on ball security for the rest of this matchup. Fort Walton Beach is absolutely gunning for him. So Uten now lines up back in the shotgun formation. Takes the snap, fakes the handoff, a quick screen out to number 6, who's got room to run on the screen. He's headed down the sideline, out to the 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Big Green Indians, 7:03, and the Indians are on the board. That is Zales Alexander, the 180-pound senior, who takes that football 50 yards for the score, and the Indians strike first with 7:03 in the first quarter, 6-0. with the extra point on the way. The snap, the kick is up, and it is good. The Indians on the PAT end up taking a 7-0 lead. That's number 12, Brady Peters, with the extra point. Choctaw strikes first, 7-0, Big Green. So on the back of a big-time run from Reggie Fain, able to recover after putting the ball on the ground for the second time. He gets the Indians out to midfield, and Uten with a strike to Alexander out in the flats, and Alexander does the rest. A 50-yard TD pass on just the Indians' second possession of the football game gives them a one-score lead, 7:03. As we get set up for kickoff. The ball gathered at the 20-yard line, out to the 25 and to the 30 before being slung out of bounds. That's number 4, Hudson Robinson, on the return, but that sling out of bounds going to cost the Indians as the line judge decides that Hudson was out of bounds. So the call likely to be a personal foul. We do have a conversation between the coaches and the officials, and now the officials huddling up to discuss. Indication is that we will pick up the flag. So the Indians avoid what would have been a very costly 15-yard personal foul on the home team sideline there. The Vikings will start with the ball on offense at their own 30-yard line. Out comes number 6, Brendan Carter. Again, your starting quarterback for the Vikings. And we have a quick timeout, an official timeout for a hydration break with 6:56 showing and a 7-0 lead for the Big Green Indians. .656 remaining in the first quarter, 7-0 Indians after that hydration break. For Walton Beach going to set up shop on their 30-yard line. Trips receivers to the top of your screen as Carter gets set to lead the second Viking drive of the day. The handoff to Redmond, and Redmond hit immediately. A great defensive effort there from the defensive tackle spot. Number 76 for the Indians, that's Tion Duncan, who puts helmet across Redmond. It's going to stop him for just a 4-yard gain, but if you can keep Redmond to just 2 or 3 4 yards a carry, that's going to help your defensive efforts tremendously. Carter gets back in the shotgun formation, moves his wing back in motion left to right, then back to his original spots. Here's Redmond again, and Redmond once again just a short 1-yard gain as he's swallowed up by a handful of Indian defenders right at the line of scrimmage. So now 3rd and a long 5 coming up for the Vikings. Redmond, 3 rushes now trying to work the middle of that Indian defense, but nothing doing. So he'll split out a spread offense here for Carter. We've got trips to the right, twins to the left as Carter takes a snap looking down the field. Indians rushing a quick pass out, and it's good for the Viking first down. The reception made at the 44-yard line by number 26, Jordan Kimbrough. 3 different Indian defenders were there to make the tackle after the catch, but Kimbrough able to go to the dirt and come up with the ball on what was a great defensive start on that series for the Indians. A first down for the team wearing white and red. Carter back in the pistol formation now. Redmond lined up behind him with 3 receivers to the bottom of your screen. Here's the fake handoff to Redmond, and he's got a receiver coming across the top of the field. That's number 4, Hudson Robinson. A quick slant. Carter saw him come wide open on defense. Out in the flats was Detarian Grant, number 9. But an outstanding route from Robinson springs him open and earns the second Viking first down of this drive. Out to the 40-yard line of Choctaw, and the Vikings are in business. Carter directing traffic, setting up the offense the way he wants it. A tight end, a wing back to the left, and both receivers. So a lot of offensive players. He'll put Robinson in motion left to right. Redmond lined up behind him in the pistol formation, and a quick jump there from the guard and tackle on the top of your screen is going to be a 5-yarder. False start against the Indians. Just a little miscommunication there between the quarterback and the right side of the offensive line. The Choctaw fans, the student section making a lot of noise, and when you get a combination of that noise as well as the adrenaline of a rivalry game like this, when those mistakes can happen, and those are the mistakes that Fort Walton Beach made against Bay last week that Coach Dorn said have to stop if they want an opportunity to win, and just like that, they will regroup. Timeout call by the Fort Walton Beach High School Vikings with 4:52 showing in the first quarter. Indians up 7-0. Back in business are the Vikings, the 45-yard line, 1st and 15 for Carter and the rest of the offense as he stands right in the middle of the Choctaw-Hatchie running Indian logo on midfield. The handoff to Redmond. Redmond picks his way to the right, and he's got nothing but green. It's a foot race, one man to beat. Missed tackle. Redmond breaking tackles all the way down to the 15-yard line, and that is exactly the play that the Vikings were looking for. Down on the field is number 15, Bryce Carter, the big wide receiver. He's a big target for the Vikings, so hopefully he won't miss much time. It looks like he's shaking off that right knee. We'll see what the injury is to number 15, but Kenyon Redmond, what an outstanding run. Set up those choppy feet in the backfield, waited for his right tackle to have an excellent kick-out block on the defensive end, and just like that, all of the sudden, it's the red zone for the Vikings. Brendan Carter setting up his offense again, a jumbo set. He turns, he's going to hand it to Redmond again. Nope, he'll pull it and keep it. The option for the quarterback out to the outside, and good for about 5 yards. He faked the handoff to Redmond there, an outstanding play fake there. Reads the Indian defense collapsing on the running back, keeps it, pulls it off to the right side, and picks up about 5.5 yards. So we'll call it 2nd and a short 5 for the Vikings, all the way inside to the 11-yard line of the Indians. Still room for a first down if they can get down to the 7-yard line. Carter back in the pistol formation, and we will have another timeout. This time, it's the Big Green Indians that will decide to regroup. Coach Greg Thomas calls a timeout to get his defense back on the sideline. Remember, they started this drive with 3 real quick plays to stuff the Viking offense, but since then, Fort Walton Beach has been reeling off run after run, and Coach Thomas wants a stop to that. So a quick timeout, 4:05 showing in the first quarter. Indians up 7-0 over the Vikings. .405 in the first quarter. Indians with their back against their own goal line here. Carter puts a man in motion, hands it to Redmond. Redmond picks his way up the right-hand side off the guard, and good for a run of about 3. Looks like he's going to come up just shy of the first down marker, but he is picking up about 4 yards a carry since they've reached the red zone. 3rd and about a yard to go for the Vikings. Now inside of the Indian 10-yard line. Pair of receivers to the left. Not a likely passing play for the Vikings, but you've got to be ready for Carter. He's not afraid to put it up to the post if he needs to. Here's the snap. It's high, but he handles it, hands it to Redmond. Redmond picks his way, and he's inside the 6. We'll call it down to the 5-yard line, and that is good for a Viking first down. It'll be 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. Checking into the game for the Indians, a pair of their jumbo linemen, number 76, Tion Duncan, number 65, Keon Corbuz will both check in as Coach Thomas elects to go with the big guys in the front, trying to limit what Redmond's able to do inside. Jumbo package for the Vikings and the Indians. They'll run a wide receiver in motion. And we've got a stoppage of play. Timeout called on the field again by Choctaw. So in 2 plays, the Indians call back-to-back timeouts. They are doing all they can to regroup and try to keep Fort Walton Beach out of the end zone. It is 1st and goal for the Vikings. 5 to go for Pay Dirt. But Coach Greg Thomas calling his 2nd timeout of the half with 3:01 showing here in the first quarter. The Fort Walton Beach student section getting raucous as they are awaiting an all-square ball game here. If Brendan Carter and his offense are successful from the 5-yard line, he puts Hudson in motion from left to right, and now a wide receiver on both sides. He'll take the snap, hand it to Redmond. Redmond, it's a foot race to the left-hand side. Can he get there? No! Saved! An outstanding play on defense there from number 44, Sean Yu, who chased Redmond down and was able to hang on to him long enough for the cavalry to arrive. So Redmond a loss of 3 on that running effort, and now with 2nd and goal, the Indians back the Vikings up to the 8-yard line. Indians making a last-second defensive substitution. The man gets off the field in time. Trips right, Twins left. Carter with a quick underneath screen, and it is knocked away. Another great defensive play there from the defensive back. That is number 42, Nathan Lewis, who came charging up from the cornerback spot, saw the quick inside slant Carter was looking for, and able to make an outstanding defensive play to put the ball back on the turf and force a 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line for Carter's Vikings. The Tomahawk Chalk ringing from the Choctaw band. Here's Carter in the shotgun formation. Redmond stays in the block. Carter's going to keep it himself up across the middle, out to the 5, to the 3. He's in. Carter calls his own number 6 with the 8-yard touchdown run, and he brings the Vikings within 1 point of squaring the rivalry game up at a touchdown apiece. Choctaw's defense took everything away from Carter except Carter himself. He was able to snake through a couple of defenders from the 8-yard line and stuff it into the end zone. So now the Vikings line up for the PAT with 2:08 showing on the clock. The snap, the hold, the kick is up, and it is good. So late in the first quarter, we've got a ball game, ladies and gentlemen, 7-7 between the Indians and the Vikings. .208 on the clock here in the first quarter. The Vikings lining up their kickoff effort after punching their first touchdown of the game. Number 24 for Fort Walton Beach, Jacob Capitana, is your kickoff specialist. Raises his hand, the whistle blows, toe meets leather, and we are back underway. The kick is going to make its way out to the 4-yard line. The return man up to the 20. He's got a head of steam, and he's out across the 30, out to the 37-yard line. An outstanding return there from number 9, Detarian Grant, the sophomore, brings the ball out. A 35-yard return on that kickoff, and he gives the Indians excellent field position to start their next offensive series. The dual threat quarterback, Brady Uten, makes his way out to the huddle to get the troops ready to play after getting the call from Coach Greg Thomas. He'll go back into the shotgun, and Uten, such a dangerous quarterback when he's back there in that shotgun formation. The H-back to his left. Fain's going to get the handoff. He's peeking off the right-hand side and driven to the ground. Great tackle from the defensive tackle for Fort Walton Beach. That is number 8, Carl Dorn, making his presence known. Fain picks up a yard on that, but Dorn, coming from that backside spot, saw what Fain was trying to do. Fain read the tackle excellent, but Dorn fought through the block and was able to get there. So it'll set up a 2nd and a long 8 for the Indians. Uten back in the shotgun. He's going to hand it to Fain. Off to the right hand again, and this time Fain is going to make his way out to the 4. And once again, Dorn in on the tackle, this time with the assist from number 5, Roderick Willis for the Vikings. Fain picks up 4, and now it is 3rd down. 3rd and 4 for the Indians. Do they go back to Fain on this play out of the backfield, or do they try something with Uten? He's been itching to pull the trigger. You can see those happy feet. He'll take the snap. He is going to give it to Fain off the left-hand side. Fain's going to fight his way, but he is stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and the Viking defense holds. A swarm of Viking defenders meet Fain at the line of scrimmage on 3rd and long, and the Indians, unable to convert, will send out Brady Peters and the punt team. An outstanding defensive effort there from the Vikings. It's like they knew what was coming from the Indian offense. Met Fain at the line of scrimmage. He ran hard, not hard enough. The punt from the Indians, end over end punt, bounces at the 30. Take an Indian bounce out to the 26-yard line before it's downed. And that is where the Vikings will take over. Marquetrius Warmble able to beat the defenders to the ball. Fort Walton Beach will start inside of their own 30-yard line on the next drive. On the last series between Carter and Redmond, they were able to pick apart the Indian defense. We'll see if they kick to the strategy. There's Redmond again. Not this time. The Indian defense swarming the line of scrimmage. Like the initial hit there was made by number 76. It's going to be Tion Duncan, a 6'2", 230-pound senior. That's a lot of high schooler to be pushing around at the line of scrimmage, and that play will bring the first quarter to an end. We've got a square ball game, ladies and gentlemen, 7-7 between the Big Green Indians and the Fort Walton Beach Vikings. Stay tuned. You're watching Indian high school football. Second quarter underway with Redmond getting the first carry, and for 2 plays in a row, the Indian defensive line absolutely ready for him. Waiting with open arms at the line of scrimmage is number 34, Miles Brantley. The defensive end crashing from the backside, followed the tackle who was pulling around the outside. And Redmond on back-to-back plays held to less than a yard. So now 3rd and 8 for the Vikings. Carter back in the pistol formation. He's got trips receivers. He's going to look for them on the left-hand side. A lot of pressure from the Indians, but Carter gets away, scrambling out to the left. He's trying to find a man, but can. Puts the ball in the air, able to get to the sideline and throws, but no one home. Carter trying to make something out of nothing, but the Indian coverage was outstanding down the field. Getting chased to the far side of the field went Carter. And it's now 4th down. So the Indian defense that time on the back of number 14, Marquetrius Warmble, who was able to chase Carter to the sideline. They hold, and the Vikings will punt now into the wind. Whistle blows, and we have got a timeout called by the Vikings. Xavier Fuller was set up to return that punt, but Fort Walton Beach, Coach Dorn saw something he did not like out of the punt team, so a quick timeout called. 4th and long for the Vikings, deep in their own territory. The Indians set up again to return this punt. Xavier Kane Fuller, number 11, is your return man. The Indians with a safety player standing at the 39-yard line to make sure the Vikings don't try anything funny. They do not. There's a punt. Oh, a rush from the Indian defender. Unable to get a hand on the ball, but it is a short punt. It rolls to just outside of the 45-yard line. The Indians very fortunate there not to get a running into the punter call, but not enough contact made. So a short punt sets the Indian offense back in action at their own 45-yard line as Brady Uton makes his way back out to the huddle, and the Indians once again in business, trying to get one back up on their rivals. Exactly 11 minutes showing in the first half of play. Uton now with 2 running backs in the backfield. Split wide receiver to the left, twins to the right. He's going to run the option. Inside shovel pitch to number 24, who with an outstanding second effort, Mario Banks, picks up another yard out across midfield to just shy of the 49-yard line of the Vikings. Fuller with an outstanding effort there. He got hit after just 2 yards, but leaned into the hit and gets himself an extra 3. Crosses midfield, and the Vikings now with their back against the wall. The Indians driving into Viking territory. Uton now once again with 2 running backs, but he sends Mario out to the right side. He takes the snap. The quick screen out to Super Mario across the 45-yard line to the 40. He's got a first down for the Indians to the 35-yard line. A great run there from number 24, Super Mario Banks, the 5'9" sophomore running back. He gets the Indians deeper into Viking territory and earns a first down for the Big Green. Great setup there by Uton. Sent Mario into motion. Nobody went with him. He immediately recognized the screen. Both receivers on that side with some great blocks. Here comes Reggie Fain in motion to the left. Uton's going to throw the same play, this time out to Fain. This time the Vikings a little more ready for it, but a pickup of, we'll call it a yard for Reggie Fain. So the Indians run the successful running back screen to the right. They try it that time to the left, but the Vikings prepared for the same play, and it's a short pickup of less than a yard for Reggie Fain. So Uton will now set up for 2nd and 10 from the Viking, we'll call it 35-yard line. Uton once again with both Mario and Reggie in the backfield with him. There's the snap, drops back in the pocket looking for a pass. He's going to throw it down the sideline, trying to find a corner route, but it's just too far. Had Marcus Malloy on the streak route. Great coverage by number 10, Connor Cleveland, the cornerback there for the Vikings. Malloy was in a foot race to the end zone, but Uton sailed it out of the back corner. Nothing doing. Now 3rd and 10 for the Indians. Now Uton splitting out as the wide receiver. Fain running the Wildcat. He'll take the snap. He's going to dive off to the left, calling his own number out to the 30 to the, we'll call it 28-yard line. And he'll get credit for the 29. An interesting play there as Uton ran towards the quarterback position, but then kept going. Ended up running out as the wide receiver. Fain moved over from the H-back position, took the Wildcat snap, dove to the left, picked up about 6 yards, and sets up now a 4th and a long 4 for the Big Green. Uton now back in his quarterback spot. He's going to keep Fain in the backfield with him to his right. Split twin receivers to the right, one to the left. He takes the snap. He'll throw this quick screen out to the outside, and there's room for the first down. Out across the 20-yard line. Still fighting. He's got room. A great play there by number 6, Zales Alexander. Incredible effort. Ran the screenplay, had a number of Viking defenders that wrapped hands around him. He fought through every one of them. And Zales Alexander with his second touchdown of the day. That one a 26-yard reception from Uten. Great play by the Indians. The extra point, the snap, the hold, the kick is short but good. It crosses, and the Indians take a 14-7 lead with 8:31 showing on the clock here in the first half of the game. Alexander there with a beautiful catch and run. Uten with the quick screen out to the outside. It was Malloy lined up at the inside wide receiver. He took off down the field. He took the cornerback with him. The only man left on that side of the field was a deep shade safety. So Alexander reels in the pass, ends up running into a multitude of Viking defenders who chased him down. 3 or 4 got their hands wrapped around Alexander, but it did not matter. He squeaks through the defenders, ends up taking it in near the pylon, and the Indians now hold a 7-point lead over the Vikings. A matchup between two very evenly matched up teams. Fort Walton Beach, Choctaw, both still in the playoff hunt, but both of them have to win this evening if they want an opportunity to fight their way into the playoffs. They also need some help. A couple of other games taking place around the state that the winner this evening will require. That kick sails out of bounds around the 5-yard line. Just came off the foot wrong. The flag hits the turf as number 25, Connor Hollish, your kickoff specialist, put just a little bit of a hook on that. So we'll have an illegal procedure against the kicker. Fort Walton Beach will benefit from much better field position on this drive. That ball will come out to the 35-yard line on the right-hand hash. Out comes Brendan Carter and his offense to try to bring this match back to level before we reach halftime. Keyshawn Gant lined up in the wing spot on the right-hand side. He is a quick wide receiver. He'll go in motion right to left. They fake the handoff, but they give it to Redmond. Redmond up the middle, and he's taken down real hard on the inside tackle. The defensive end there, number 95 for the Choctawhatchee Indians. That's Caleb Campbell, who crashed down hard, took Redmond's inside route away from him. Just a gain of 2 for Redmond, and now it's 2nd and 8 for the Viking offense. Working from their 37-yard line, Carter puts Gant in motion again. This time he gives the hand, keeps the handoff, tries to keep it himself, and loses a pair of yards. The Indian defense, a host of tacklers, preventing Brendan Carter from getting anything. He sent Gant in motion, looked like he was going to give it to him on the action sweep, but decided to pull the ball, keep it himself, and that cost him a pair of yards. So now 3rd and a long 10 for the Vikings. Carter back in the shotgun, this time with a pair of running backs. Split wide receiver to the right, twins to the left. Carter takes the snap, looks down the field, trying to find anybody. He's got the pass out. It's caught, but not able to get to the first down marker is number 4, Hudson Robinson. Great defensive effort out there on the outside by number 44 for the Indian defense. That's Sean Yu making another play to prevent the Viking first down. You got beat on the initial comeback route from the Viking wide receiver, but did not allow him to make up any more room. So the Indians set up to return the punt. This time it's going to be a number 11, Xavier Kane Fuller. with his feet back on the Indian 30-yard line, awaiting the Viking punt. There's a snap. It's a high one. The Indians rush. Can't get anyone there. Another end-over-end kick. Bounces at the 40-yard line and will sit down right there. So the Indians will send Brady Uten and the gang back out onto the field. They will have the ball at the 35-yard line to start their next drive. 6:26 remaining in the first half, and the Indians on top 14-7 in the game. We'll have our official timeout for a water break. Stay tuned. You're watching Choctaw Hatchie Indian football. .6:26 on the clock. Indians back in business. Ball out to the 40-yard line. That's where Uten and company take over. A quick screen out there to number 2, Marcus Malloy. Malloy with a quick spin move. Takes a 4-yard gain, turns it into 7. Great move there from the 6'1" tall junior wide receiver. Uten has hit about 4 of those quick screens to the wide receivers on the outside. And what you'll see strategy-wise is as long as those 2 Viking cornerbacks give that much of a pad to the big wide receivers, Uten will keep hitting those screens, trying to draw the cornerbacks in and set up that big play. There's the handoff to Fain. Fain picks his way around the right-hand side and able to get out to the 49-yard line of the Vikings. That's going to be good for a Viking first down. A little extracurricular activity there for the Vikings is number 10, Connor Cleveland, getting into it a little bit with one of the Indian offensive linemen. And that's the type of frustration that can get you in trouble, is Cleveland playing that free safety spot. If Uten can find Malloy or one of the big wide receivers as he hands the ball back off to Fain on the left-hand side. Tripped up in the backfield is Reggie Fain. Probably a touchdown-saving trip up there from number 32, Presley Blackburn. Fain had daylight ahead of him. If Blackburn doesn't get a finger on that shoelace of number 22, that might be an end-zone play. 14-7 Indians, 5:38 here in the first half. Uten and the Indians driving into Viking territory. Ball on the 45-yard line. Uten with Fain in the backfield. He'll take the snap. He's going to fake the handoff. There's the inside route to Malloy, but Uten can't hit him. He's got Malloy down the sideline, but just overthrows him. Uten was looking for Malloy. Malloy with a deep double motion route. He cut to the inside as if he was running a post. He got the cornerback to dive inside, cut back to the left-hand side. Uten, in the meantime, avoided the sack and had Malloy, but just could not put the ball on the money. If he connects on one of those, it's 7, but not that time. Now Uten lines up out on the left as a wide receiver, tells the receiver, I'm on. Tight end, both wide receivers to the right in a jumbo package, but the whistle blows. We'll have a timeout called by the Indians. So the Indians trying something special there, moved Uten out to the wide receiver and ran the Wildcat formation. We saw that a little bit earlier in the game, but Greg Thomas did not like the defensive look that he received that time, so he calls his final timeout of the first half with 5:18 showing on the clock, and the Indians holding on to a 1-touchdown lead. So we'll see if we get the same look here. Nope, looks like Walton is going to head back to the quarterback formation. A pair of running backs in the backfield with him. Calls for the snap. The Indians need 5 for the first down. There's the handoff to Super Mario, and he is going to be taken down short of the first down marker. Mario Banks with the quick dive to the inside, but it's number 75, Grant Sanders, making the initial contact from the defensive tackle spot. Causes a 4th and 4 for the Indians, so the punt team now on the field for the Big Green, unable to convert that first down. There's the snap, an end-over-end kick aimed at the sideline, and it goes out of bounds. Referee marks it off at the, we'll say he's taking a walk back up the field. Out to the 25. Out to the 30. The 30-yard line is where the referee says the ball went out of bounds. So a punt of just about 10 yards total for the Indians. That'll give the Vikings decent starting field position. 1st and 10 from their own 30-yard line. 4:40 showing in the half, with the Indians up 14-7 over the Vikings. The Viking offensive line leading Brendan Carter and the gang back onto the field. Trips wide receivers to the left for Carter's Vikings. He pulls one in motion back across the face. It'll be a handoff to Redmond. Redmond picks his way up the middle, but nothing doing there. Another outstanding effort from the Indians front seven. They have taken Redmond, who's averaging over 140 yards per game, and outside of the initial Viking drive, really prevented him from getting anything going between the tackles, and that's really taking away from what the Viking offense wants to do. Gain of just 1 for Redmond. You'll wonder if Coach Dorn will change anything up in the play calling, or if they'll remain persistent. Redmond is one of those guys that even if he is getting eaten up on the inside, all he needs is to break one, and it can change the momentum of the game. There's Carter, takes the snap, looking for a wide receiver. Nothing doing. He's got pressure. Back to his own 15-yard line. He's running up the sideline. Trip, but unable to. Oh, intercepted! It's picked off. That's number 11, Xavier Kane Fuller. Carter makes a huge mistake by trying to toss the ball to one of his receivers. Kane Fuller read what he was trying to do, jumped in front of it, and the Indians take over inside of Viking territory. 1st and 10, Big Green at the 35-yard line. Kane Fuller saw that Carter was in trouble, read that he was trying to make a play down the sideline. Carter trying to shovel pass to one of his wide receivers who was making a comeback down the sideline. Kane Fuller saw exactly what he wanted to do, jumped in front, and gives Walton and the offense the ball back inside of Viking territory. Here's Walton in shotgun formation. Looks for the quick screen. Throws it out to the middle. There's Malloy. Malloy with the big snag to the 15-yard line. Excellent play from Walton. He faked the screen to the receiver. The Indians have run that play 4 or 5 times tonight. Recognized that the corner stepped up. Saw that Malloy took nobody with him on the route down the sideline and hit him over the inside shoulder where only he could catch it. Great play. Great recognition from Walton, and now the Indians inside the red zone at the Vikings 16-yard line. Walton and Fain back in the shotgun formation. He'll take the snap, gives it to Fain. Fain off the left-hand side. He's got room. 10, 5, touchdown, Big Green Indians. Fain bounces off a pair of Viking defenders inside the 5, maintains his feet, and takes it in for 6. Credit to the left side of the Indian offensive line. They were able to direct all the Viking traffic back inside, gave Fain room to run. He got 1-on-2 on the outside and made a pair of defenders miss. 3-14. The PAT for the Indians is up and good. And just like that, it's a 2-touchdown lead for Choctaw as they lead the Vikings 21-7 at home. You're watching the game. Choctaw, Fort Walton Beach. Here we go, back underway. Toe means leather. This kick is not only going to stay in bounds, but it is a good one all the way to the end zone. Great kick there by Connor Hollis with the big boot. The last one went out of bounds, not this time. Puts a little oomph behind it and earns the touchback for the Indians. Coach Thomas will be very pleased anytime that you can pin the Vikings back inside of their own 20 to start a drive. It's about the most you can ask for out of your kickoff unit. So Connor's going to get some props on the sideline from the coaching staff as the Viking defense, which has been very good on the last two Viking drives, will step back onto the field. All black unis tonight for Choctaw. Connor back, hands it on. Nope, fakes the handoff to Redmond. Inside pass to the wide receiver, was trying to hook up with number 28, Jamison Brundage, but the ball low under a lot of pressure went Brendan Carter, so he could not get it there. The defensive line for Choctaw the last few series has been creating a lot of problems inside, disguising some different stunts and pass rush efforts. Carter not really able to set his feet on the last handful of passing attempts. He came into this game with about a 65% completion percentage, but that number not being matched this evening. Back to the pistol formation with Redmond behind him. Carter takes the snap. He fakes the handoff to Redmond, looking to the outside. There's the screen pass to the wide receiver who fumbles, or excuse me, puts a little hiccup on the ball. Able to reel it back in. Jamison Brundage with the snag. Just a couple of yards there. We'll call it out to the 22-yard line. And that's where the Vikings will face third down. 8 yards to go to convert. They need a first down. You do not want to let Choctaw convert a fourth down here and get the ball and receive the ball to start the second half. The Vikings will receive the ball to start the second half. That's my mistake. My apologies, but you still don't want to go into the halftime mark down a pair, but the Vikings will punt here. That ball is going to head out to Kane Fuller, who's going to reel it in at the 45-yard line, out across the 40, out to the 30 to the 25, and finally taken down at the 22-yard line. Beautiful return there by Xavier Kane Fuller. He set up under the ball very leisurely, made it look like he might signal fair catch, but decided not to. Reeled it in, and very, very quick acceleration as soon as he caught the ball. Caught the Fort Walton Beach coverage team by surprise, snaked his way inside the 25-yard line, and now the Vikings, with their back against the wall, the Indians trying to put 7 more on the board before halftime and put this thing out of reach. There's a handoff to Fain, but Fain unable to go anywhere. In fact, may have lost a yard on that. Number 50 for the Vikings, Daniel Cobb, dives in and stops Fain from getting any forward momentum. A loss of 1 on that play. So here we go with Uten back in the shotgun. Fain again to his left. Offensive line in very tight. He'll fake the handoff. There's the pitch to the outside. The option goes inside to the 15-yard line. That's number 8, Tanner Pattison, the 5'10" senior takes the pitch. A great option read there from Uten before he made the pitch to Pattison. Pattison picked his way off to the left-hand side, able to dive down to the 15. Now 3rd and 2 for the Indian offense with 1:18 showing on the clock. Uten back in the shotgun. Fain to his left. He'll hand it to Fain. Fain picks his way off the right-hand guard. He's going to drive down to the 10-yard line, and that's good for an Indian first down now at the 10-yard line and looking to strike again. Number 5, Roderick Willis on the stop there for the Vikings. Saved the touchdown. So here we go. Uten now walking up under center. The offensive line in tight. Uten's going to take the snap and spike the ball with 1:03 showing on the scoreboard. That'll stop the clock, and the Indians going to regroup their offense. First, and we'll call it 10, but the first down marker is so close to the goal line that it'll be difficult to pick up a first down without actually scoring here. Pattison's going to make his way off the field, and Super Mario Banks will check back in for the Indian offense. Uten back in the shotgun. He's got Fain to his right, Banks in the slot to his left. He'll put Banks in motion. Takes the snap, and Uten's going to take it himself off the right-hand tackle side. He's inside to the 5-yard line. Uten methodically picking his way behind his guard tackle block and drives it down to the 5-yard line. 50 seconds with a running clock here. Choctaw out of timeouts at the end of the first half, so they'll go in a hurry-up mode here. You don't want to leave any time on the clock. Remember, a ball player down in the field of play will keep the clock running. Uten takes a snap. He's going to toss it to the right-hand side. Got a man, but unable to hang on the outside. Not able to make the catch there was the far side receiver. Looks like number 6, Zales Alexander. The ball went through his hands, but an incomplete pass will stop the clock. So with 32 seconds, Choctaw is going to send on the field goal unit here on 4th down. Try to put it 3 more points out of reach of the Vikings. Whistle is blown. Indians trying to get the snap down before delay of game, and they do not. The play clock hits 0, and now that 3-point effort has just gotten 5 yards more difficult. Number 25, Connor Hollis, out to try the effort. The Brady bunch of number 7, Brady Uten, and number 12, Brady Peters are your long snapper and holder collaboration. So Hollis lines up the kick, the snap, the hold. It's a fake! He's going to take it around the outside. It's a foot race and taken down. A fake field goal effort. Number 9 for the Vikings, Nico Bryant, saw it, sniffed it out. It was a foot race between Hollis and Nico to the outside, and Nico Bryant won that one. So the Indians fail to put points on the board deep inside of the second quarter, just 16 seconds showing. And even though the Vikings will get the ball to start the second half, not a bad thought, in my opinion, from Coach Greg Thomas there. If the Indians can put 7 on the board, great. They'll go up by 3 scores and put it basically out of reach for a Viking offense that has been sputtering the last few drives. If they do not, no harm, no foul, as the Vikings unlikely to drive the length of the football field, which is 16 seconds and only 1 timeout remaining. In fact, it looks like the Vikings will simply take a knee and run out the clock. The officials put 22 seconds back on the clock, but I do not think it will matter as Brendan Carter will take a knee. The Indians have no timeout, so they'll be unable to stop the clock. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we will end your first half of play. When the clock hits 0, the Indians, the Vikings, will take to the locker room with Choctaw leading Fort Walton Beach by a pair of touchdowns, 21-7 in favor of the Big Green. Brady Uten with a couple of touchdown passes to Zales Alexander. You also had one on the outside to Malloy. A great first half from Uten and company. Number 22, Reggie Fain, expected to be a major player in this evening's matchup. Had one fumble that was a turnover, another that he recovered, but since then, he's been able to grind out some big-time plays between the tackles. On the flip side of the ball, the Vikings, very, very slow offensive series to end the half. They started off very well. The same thing happened last weekend against the Bay Tornadoes. Started very well, and then the offense sputtered. So when Brendan Carter takes back to the field, by the way, responsible for the only touchdown for the Vikings on an 8-yard touchdown quarterback keeper, he'll try to get his offensive momentum rolling once again. But for now, we take you down to the field as the Fort Walton Beach Big Red Machine takes to your halftime entertainment. We'll follow that up, of course, with the Marching Chiefs of Choctaw. My name is Rob Brown. Enjoy halftime, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back to continue the second half of the game. Choctaw, Fort Walton Beach, the Big Green Indians up 21-7 back after halftime.
Now, entering the field, one of the South Coast recognized band, Florida's ambassadors of goodwill, the Choctaw Style Marchers. The band is led under the direction of James Harper, Brad Hart, and John Wood. The country instructors are Mike Walton, Tyler Easterling, E.K. Rhodes, and James Harper. The color guard is under the direction of Kathy Savage, supervised Bill Morales, and Danielle Brown. Drum majors Aaron Rudy. Percussion captains are Caleb Smith and Blake Campbell. Color guard captains are Renee Knox and Alexia Morris. Tonight's featured performers are Alexa Gutierrez, Samuel Adams, Josh Wood, and Blake Campbell. The Style Marchers present their 2017 production, To the Crazy One. Tonight's musical selections include Eric Clapton's Change the World, Igor Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, Crazy by Alice Barkley, Psycho theme from the movie Psycho, Andrew Day's Rise Up, My Shot from the musical Hamilton, and Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, under the field direction of drum major Aaron Ruiz, Choctaw High School proudly presents the Style Marchers.
In all of us lies the spark of both genius and insanity. And when you find the line that separates the two, cross the line. Here's to the thinkers and dreamers.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
The ones who push us forward.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The innovators and rule breakers.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Here's to the ones that make our world great. Here's to you, the crazy ones.
57 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
What your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Ask what you can do for your country.
If you seek peace, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In all of us lies the spark of creation, of innovation, of passion and progress. And from that spark may burst a flame. As we look to the future, we carry the torch of those who have come before us. We are the crazy ones.
See you later.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just moments away from getting the second half underway. Choctaw starts with a 21-7 lead. Kicking off to Fort Walton Beach. Fort Walton's offense sputtering out in the second quarter of the first half, but in the first few minutes of this game, Fort Walton Beach seemed to be on a roll. Same as last week against Bay, a game which they ultimately lost. Toe meets leather, second half underway as the kick goes off the fingers of number 5, Roderick Willis, into the end zone, and that will be a touchback for the Indians. The second touchback of the last 2 kickoffs for number 25, Connor Hollis, and he'll get a couple of love taps on the helmet for that effort. So, Brendan Carter, number 6, will lead his offense back out onto the field. He's got number 1, Kenyon Redmond, in the backfield with him now. Redmond, the stud of the Fort Walton Beach Viking offense, but the last few times he's touched the ball, he's been stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and that remains true this time as number 4, Jacob Pulliam, sticks his nose into the backfield and knocks Redmond down with not a yard to show for that effort. Outstanding hustle play from number 4, the 6'1", 170-pound junior, who came from the backside defensive end spot and was able to knock Redmond down. So Carter goes back into the pistol formation, Redmond with him. He'll take the snap, fake the handoff, and toss it out to the left-hand side. Got a receiver, makes the first man miss and the second. That's number 4, Hudson Robinson, who's able to slip a tackler before number 33, Taylor Newman, is able to eventually get him down. That's going to be good for a Fort Walton Beach first down. So Redmond gets knocked down on the first play, but no harm, no foul as the Vikings get the second one, 11 yards through the air. 1st and 10 for the Vikings. The 32-yard line is where they'll start. Redmond calls for a man in motion. That's Keyshawn Gant, who goes all the way across the formation. Here's Carter. He throws it down the sideline. It's a foot race, and both players on the ground. Number 4, that's Hudson Robinson calling for the defensive pass interference. A shrug from number 11. That's Xavier Kane Fuller, who's saying it was incidental contact to the referees. We'll see where blame gets assigned. Defensive pass interference is the call. That was a very, very tough play. I think the only issue there was that Kane Fuller did not get his head turned around. Had he gotten his head turned around, he might have had an argument for incidental contact, but unfortunately for him, when Robinson got his turn, it became defensive pass interference. So we'll move the ball ahead, almost all the way to midfield. 10-yard penalty, and the 42-yard line is where the next first down will take place for the Vikings. It's going to be number 17, Kevin Quinn, steps into formation as the quarterback for the Vikings. He's going to fake the handoff. He will take it to right hand or left-hand side. Throws it down the field. Intercepted. Picked off by the Vikings. That was an outstanding defensive effort from number 9, Detarian Grant, the 6', 170-pound sophomore. Recognized the play. Got his head turned, got his body turned, went up to the highest point of the football, and hands it back over to the offense. Fort Walton Beach, with their second interception of the game, gives the Indians the ball back inside their own red zone. 1st and 10 from the 18 come the Big Green. There's Brady Uten making his way back onto the field for the Indians' first possession of the second half. They lead 21-7 with 10:46 showing on the clock. Spread offense for Uten. He's got Fain in the backfield with him. He'll call for the snap. Puts a man in motion across the formation. Makes the handoff, and nothing doing that time for Tanner Pattison. They've run that end around 2 or 3 times this evening, and it's been mildly successful. That time the Vikings sniff it out from the beginning and cost the Indians about a yard. So we'll call it 2nd and a long 10 for Choctaw, as Pattison just could not get away from the 3 Fort Walton Beach defenders waiting for him on that side of the football. Trips left for Uten. He's in the shotgun back with a pitch out to Fain. Fain makes his way, but he is slammed hard at the line of scrimmage. Big number 75, that is Grant Sanders. who came up with the tackle. Still have a gain of about 6 for the Indians. Going to make it 3rd and a long 5 from the 23-yard line on their side of the football field. Good run from Fain. 75 came from the inside nose tackle spot, was able to shed his block. Without that, Fain probably gets the first down. Here's Uten. He's going to drop back to pass. Quick pass out to Fain. Fain out across the 25-yard line, runs into his own man, and that's going to cause them to be short of the first down. They sent out number 63, Cole Watson, to be a lead blocker on a combination. It wasn't quite a screen. It wasn't quite a downfield pass either. That pass hit right at the line of scrimmage. Either way, Cole Watson ran out to be a blocker. Fain didn't see him, ran into his own man, so it's punt team time for Choctaw. End over end, good punt. That's going to be caught and dropped. It's a free ball and a good recovery there. Roderick Willis took the ball in stride, put it on the turf, was able to stop himself and turn himself back around to make the recovery, but it cost him about 5 yards on the return. So a good punt there from the Indians will put the Vikings at the 35-yard line on their side of the field, and that is where Brendan Carter will take back over, trying to get the Vikings back into this matchup. 9:01 now showing on the scoreboard here in the 3rd quarter. First and 10 for the Vikings. 35-yard line, their side of the field. Carter in the pistol formation, hands it to Redmond. Redmond drives into the line, good for just 1. Once again, the interior tackles for the Choctaw Indians coming up big. It looked that time like a combination tackle of 76 and 95. That's Tion Duncan and Caleb Campbell combining on the inside, and I've got to give a bunch of credit to this Indian defensive line who have taken away any success that Redmond has been looking for up the gut. Trip receivers to the left as Carter directs traffic. He's going to fake the handoff to Redmond, look for himself up the middle, and nothing doing once again. Number 76, Tion Duncan, collapses the interior blockers for the Vikings and holds what might have been a big run for Carter to just a 1-yard gain. 3rd and 9 now, as the Indian defensive front 7 have been the stalwarts of this game so far. Carter once again in the pistol formation. That's been pretty much the default for the Vikings so far this evening. Again, trip receivers to the left. Carter's looking for one. He throws it out quick, and it is caught. Number 4, Hudson Robinson, working one-on-one against Kane Fuller out on the outside. Kane Fuller looks like his left foot slipped out from underneath him, and that was all the advantage that Hudson Robinson needed, able to plant his left foot. When Kane Fuller slipped, he ducked back to the inside. And just like that, it's a first down for the Vikings now at the 47-yard line, trying to cross into Indian territory for the first time since around the mid-second quarter. Man in motion across the back of the formation is Jamal Effat. That's going to be a false start on the right tackle. Number 72, Rasheek Hawthorne, jumped a little early, and so he's going to take 5 yards off of the field position for the Vikings. False start there, says the White Hat, against the right side of the Viking offensive line. So they will regroup on the sideline. And it's just the second false start on the Vikings so far this evening. Much more discipline from last week, and that was the emphasis for Coach Dorn and the Vikings last week. As we mentioned, that loss to the Bay Tornadoes, one that put them arguably behind Choctaw in terms of playoff contention, was basically chalked up to fundamental errors from start to finish. The Vikings looking to get rid of those this evening, but that did not help. Pair of receivers to the top of your screen, tight end to the left of the formation. Men in motion. There's the handoff around the left-hand side on a jet sweep, and nothing doing. Outstanding defense there from number 21, Jeffrey Jones for the Indians, but Laundry hits the turf. Wonder if the ball carrier was carried out of bounds. That was number 28, Jamison Brundage, on the sweep around the left-hand side. Officials discussing what the flag was for. We've got a face mask call against the Indians. So what was an outstanding defensive effort, due to a face masking call, will chalk off a handful of yards and give the Vikings another try. We'll bump the ball up to the 45-yard line this time. First down for the Vikings. We'll call it 1st and 12 as Carter's now back in the regular shotgun with the running back to his left, drops him out of the pocket. Quick out route to the wide receiver, again looking for Jamison Brundage, but nothing there that time for Carter. Just underthrew his wide receiver, his intended target. Probably would have been a pickup of 4 or 5, but Carter's been having a real problem. He's been under pressure so much this game that it looks like he's just not comfortable setting his feet in the pocket and giving himself a good base to throw off of. So here we go back to the pistol formation. 3 receivers to the right. He's going to fake the handoff to Redmond, and he avoids the sack. Outstanding. He's going to take it himself across the 45-yard line on the far side of the field, and that is very close to a Fort Walton Beach first down. Looks like he's going to be about a half-yard short. Carter, outstanding footwork there. It looked like he was going to be taken down in the backfield, but was able to regain his composure, calls his own number off the right-hand side, and makes a run for 11 yards now. Instead of a 3rd and long, it's 3rd and 1. We'll say a long 1.5 for the Vikings. Tight offensive line formation, back to the pistol with Redmond behind him. 3 receivers to the top of your screen for Carter. Carter's going to pull a man in motion. Hands it. Nope, does not. It's picked off. The tip ball is picked off. It's a foot race to the end zone. That is number 44, Sean Yu, with the Indian defensive touchdown. What looked like a Viking first down turns into an Indian touchdown. The ball was tipped off of Carter's pass intended to the flats, was looking for Jamison Brundage, but the big defensive tackle able to pop it up in the air. Outstanding ball awareness for the 5'10", 200-pound linebacker Sean Yu, who had it come down into his hands, got into a foot race, got some help from a lead blocker, and after the point after touchdown, the Indian defense sticks 7 on the board, and they take the lead 28-7. Choctaw beginning to pull away after the touchdown interception. Great job by the Indian defense. 6:43 remaining in the 3rd quarter. It's 28-7 Choctaw. The Choctaw defense has been outstanding since around the end of the 1st quarter, and they capitalized there on a mistake. Brendan Carter looked like he had a man open in the flats, and if he puts a little finesse on that ball, it's probably a Viking first down. It was not a bad play call, just an outstanding effort from the Indian defensive line. They have been swarming to the football. Here we go back the other way again. 6:43 showing up on the clock as the Indians kick off once again. This ball is going to be fielded inside the 5. We'll call it at the 2-yard line. Out on the return, and a big hit. Number 5, Roderick Willis, is slammed by number 1, Jimmy Hart. The sophomore defensive back lays the smack down on Roderick Willis. Great effort there from the special teams ace, Jimmy Hart. He had a couple of big special teams plays last week against Leon, and he continues the streak this time around. Props from his teammates in the defensive backfield as he sticks Fort Walton Beach inside their own red zone. They'll take over at the 11-yard line. It is an official's timeout for a water break. Choctaw with all the momentum right now. A defensive pick six, a big special teams play. Fort Walton Beach has its offensive back against the wall. Will they put something together, or will the Choctaw defense hold once again? We'll find out back after this. You're watching Big Green Indian football. Viking offense takes over at the 15, we'll call it 16-yard line. Carter back in the pistol formation, fakes the handoff to Redmond. Going to run around the left-hand side. He looks down the field and got a man, but just can't get it into the waiting arms of Keyshawn Gant. Gant had room on that side of the field, had really beat the safety on a nice little fade route to the sideline, but Carter just a little bit too excited. Outthrows him by about 1.5 yards. And again, ever since around the first quarter, Carter has just looked very uncomfortable in the pocket, and you can credit the Indians' defensive front seven for that. They're only bringing one extra man occasionally, but the down 3 linemen, the outside 2 backers have done a great job. Just like that one, there's a fade route to the corner, and it's again overthrown. Looking for Hudson Robinson. Great defense down the sideline there from Jimmy Hart. He's the man who came up with the special teams gun on that kickoff a few minutes ago. But Carter's been trying to get comfortable in the pocket, and those little fade routes have been there. His receivers have been creating separation on the cuts to the sideline. But Carter can't get his feet set, cannot turn his shoulders into the throw because he's so worried about that pressure from the inside. These are passes that the Indian defensive front seven are technically breaking up. Here's Carter back in the pocket again. This time he's got time, but a whistle stops the play dead. We've got a flag from the near side lineman. The call will be a false start from the Vikings. So it's already been a very difficult series with a 3rd and 10 on the line. Now all of a sudden, 3rd and 10 turns into 3rd and 15. And it's a 3rd and 15 where the Vikings have very little room to operate back at their own 10-yard line. The Indians asking their crowd to get pumped up on the near sideline. Xavier Kane Fuller throwing those hands in the air right in front of the student section. The Choctaw band with that drum cadence trying to inspire the defense to another stand. Carter with extra protection. He'll send one running back out on a route. There's the underneath screen. It's going to gain a couple of yards, but not enough. A good idea with the pass to Hudson Robinson, but Robinson unable to slit the defensive tackle underneath. And so 4th and 11 will bring the Viking punt team on as they trail 28-7. 5:53 showing here in the 3rd quarter. There's the punt, almost blocked, but the end-over-end punt is going to make its way inside, not quite to Indian territory. We'll call it to the 46-yard line. It'll be down there by number 14, Taryn Pitts Bryant. Pitts Bryant, one of the special teams aces, one of the bigger Fort Walton Beach players. He checks in, let's say, around 6'2" or so. And looking to make a difference here. If Fort Walton Beach wants an opportunity to check back into this matchup, they will need a big stop here as the Indians will start this drive inside of Viking territory at the 45-yard line. Back to the Wildcat formation with Reggie Fain taking the snap. He's going to pull off to the right. He'll throw the ball, and he's got a receiver open. Can he hit him? No, just out of range of Marcus Malloy. Reggie Fain drew the defense in with the Wildcat formation and looked like it was a wide open touchdown pass to Malloy, but Fane just unable to drop it in the bucket. And Malloy laid out, gave it the best effort he could, but just a couple of yards short of making a huge catch, and that would have absolutely killed the spirit of this Viking defense. However, 28-7, 5:17 to go. Uten now back in the shotgun formation. Pulls a man across. He'll hand it to Fane up the middle. Fane pushes for about a 6-yard gain. Good, tough running there from number 22, Reggie Fane, the 5'10" freshman who's got a very bright future ahead of him here at Choctaw High School, wearing the black and green of the Indians. It's going to bring up 3rd and a long 4 for Choctaw with Uten, who's now back in the shotgun formation. Again, Fane lines up to his right. One receiver, Malloy, by himself. Uten's going to look for him. And it is knocked down. Big defensive play there from number 8, Carl Dorn. He came untouched up the middle, and Uten recognized it was either get rid of the ball and try to make something happen or take a sack. He tries to throw it over Dorn, but Dorn, as Linda Cohn would say, for the love of elevation, takes to the sky and knocks that ball to the turf. So the Indians forced to punt on 4th and 4. There's the punt. It's an end-over-end effort. Bounces. Great special teams coverage there from the Indians, and down at the 5-yard line, number 13, Mason Bruns, able to knock it down after a heck of an effort on the sideline there for number 3, Lenore Menardo. Menardo able to pop the ball back inbounds. Bruns able to cover it up on the 5-yard line. And so now, 4:35 showing in the 3rd quarter. The Vikings trail by 21 points with their back against the wall, starting this drive at their own 5-yard line. You have to wonder, at this point in time, you'd think aggressive play calling would be required, but so close to the end zone. Do they run Redmond? Do they try to trick the Indians, who are running man coverage? At least looks like man coverage on the outside. Motion right to left, back to the outside. There's a handoff to Redmond. Redmond takes it off the left tackle, and he drives out to around the 8-yard line. A pickup of just about 2.5 yards for the running back, Kenyon Redmond. Redmond, again, averaging over 140 yards per game, but without a stellar 4th quarter, he will come up significantly short of that total this evening, as the Indian defensive front 7 has been keying on him since around the middle of the 1st quarter. Second and 7 for the Vikings. Back to the pistol formation. There's a handoff again to Redmond. This time he's got a little bit more room. He's going to push his way out across the 15-yard line. We'll call it to the 16. That's an 8-yard gain for Kenyon Redmond, who earns the Fort Walton Beach Viking 1st down. Change at quarterback on this play. Number 17, Kevin Quinn, will take over at quarterbacking duties. Looks to the left-hand side. The ball is tipped, but still caught anyway. That's number 4, Keyshawn Gant, on the snag. Finally driven out of bounds on the far sideline there. Looks like number 44 on the stop. That's Sean Yu again. Sean having a big game. He had the pick 6 a few minutes ago. The tip ball that he took about 37 yards to the shed to put the Indians up 28-7. He's got a handful of tackles as well. Stop what might have been a big gain there. 2nd and 6 now for the Vikings. Quinn still in at quarterback. Hands it off to Redmond, and Redmond fights ahead. Crashes the line of scrimmage for another 2-yard gain. He's going to be about 1.5 yards short of the 1st down marker. We'll call it a full 2, so it'll be 3rd and 2 for the Vikings. Quinn stays in, so it looks like Fort Walton Beach perhaps going with a quarterback change, as Brendan Carter was not having much success tossing the rock around. So Quinn, a little bit taller quarterback, a couple of tip passes. They'll try to avert that crisis. Here's a quick pass out to the right-hand side, but overthrows a combination of receivers was looking for either 28 Jamison Brundage or number 4 Hudson Robinson, but threw it right in between the middle of them, both Jimmy Hart and Xavier Kane Fuller out on coverage on that side of the football. It'll bring up 4th and 4 for the Vikings, who send their punt team out onto the field, and the Indians will respond in kind with Xavier Kane Fuller dropping back. He'll put his heels on around the 49-yard line of his own squad and hope to come up with another big punt return here. Indians with a full rush but can't get their end-over-end kick. Xavier makes the snag at the 46-yard line, out across the 40 to the 36-yard line of Fort Walton Beach. And once again, thanks to an outstanding effort from the punt returner, the Indians will start another drive inside of Viking territory. And it is do or die time here for Fort Walton Beach. They have to come up with a defensive stop. Another 7 on the board for Choctaw would just about put this one out of reach. There's the pitch out to Hain. He's got room, and he squeaks it out inside the 30 down to the 27-yard line. A pickup of 8 yards on the toss right to number 22, Xavier Fain. The Fort Walton Beach students still on their feet, still jumping, trying to inspire their team to get back into this one, but their defense needs a heck of an effort now as Choctaw has pushed themselves once again inside the 30-yard line of Fort Walton Beach. Back under center is Uten. He's got an I formation behind him. He hands to Fain. Fain dives straight ahead across the first down marker, and it is a Choctaw first down. Minute 33 showing on the clock here. First down. Big Green, they lead 28-7. Number 6, Zales Alexander will make his way off the field as Choctaw looks content to continue those up the middle handoffs. Uten with the I formation behind him, back under center again. He'll spin. The pitch left this time as Fain's going to get chased down. Can he make something out of nothing? Back out to the 26-yard line. That's going to be a loss of 2 for the Indians. The clock will run inside of a minute and 20 seconds, but now the Indians trying to keep that clock running. The Vikings playing a little more aggressive across the front 7, knowing that Choctaw wants to run the ball. Will Coach Thomas put it in the air to try to catch the Viking defense sleeping or continue to run? They're back in that I formation. Tight ends on both sides of the formation. There's the handoff right back up the middle. This time it goes to Super Mario, number 24, Mario Banks, the 170-pound sophomore. He climbs back up the middle and earns another 3 yards for the Indians. Got to make it 3rd and a long 8 to pick up the first down and continue this drive. 37 and some change showing on the clock. Now Uten back into the shotgun. Got Fain on his right. Trips wide receivers to the top part of your screen. He'll drop in the pocket. Looking to pass the quick inside screen, and slammed at the line of scrimmage is number 2, Marcus Malloy. Great defensive play there by number 21, Stacy Seeley. Seeley saw that his counterpoint, number 2, Malloy, was going to run the underneath screen. He delayed the screen route. Took off after Uten had taken about a 3-step drop. Seeley came up and made the play, hit the big play, but the Indians are going to go for it on 4th and 7, a little out of field goal range, but not quite close enough to punt, so they'll try to get a first down. Uten back in the pocket looking for a man. He's got one to the outside, throws in. It is incomplete. Big time effort there from number 6, Zales Alexander. He went sky to try to reel that in, but in and out of his hands, unable to come up with a catch, and a turnover on down. So the Viking defense holds against the Indians, who started off with great field position but could not come up with points on that drive. And back the other way we go. 12.6 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Brendan Carter, number 6, back onto the field at the quarterbacking position for Fort Walton Beach. Kenyon Redmond joins him in the backfield. He'll take the snap and hand it to Redmond on the read option, but nothing doing. Again, the front seven of Choctaw putting on an exhibition about how to play the game this evening. They stuff Redmond at the line of scrimmage for no gain. It's 2nd and 10 as the clock shows zeros and the third quarter comes to its conclusion. 4 fingers raised high in the air on the Choctaw sideline as Joe Etheridge Stadium gets ready for quarter number 4. It's the 47th edition of the game. Choctaw High School taking on Fort Walton Beach. Choctaw looking for the nickel, number 5 in a row over their crosstown rivals. Do they have enough to put it away, or will Fort Walton Beach pull off the miracle comeback? The fourth quarter starts when we come back. You're watching Big Green Indian football. And the Indian defense will start the fourth quarter with a big-time play. Big tackle behind the scrimmage. Number 3, Keyshawn Gant takes the handoff and gets slammed by the Indian front seven. And just like that, on third down, Fort Walton Beach nearly doubles the amount of territory they'll need to cover in order to get a first. We're going back the other way. Fort Walton trailing 28-7. Here in the fourth quarter from Joe Etheridge Stadium. Again, my name is Rob Brown. Thanks so much for joining to us, and thanks to the staff of WBGI here at Choctaw High School for putting in so much hard work to bring you our game this evening. There is another sack. A huge play that time as number 4, Jacob Pulliam, comes steaming through the middle of the line and absolutely slams the ball carrier, Hudson Robinson, that time. Taken down far behind the line, and it is 4th and forever. The Vikings, even down 3 touchdowns, have no choice but to punt from inside their own 5-yard line. The punter is going to have his right heel all the way back on the line of scrimmage. He has no margin of error back there. The Indians will send 3 up the middle. The punt gets away. Nice punt. It's a spiral. It's going to be fielded by Xavier Kane Fuller at the 50-yard line. Misses the first, misses the second. Back across the 40 and finally taken down at the 35-yard line. An outstanding return from Xavier Kane Fuller. The tackle made by number 54. That's Joshua Rodriguez of the Viking coverage team, but not before Xavier Kane Fuller makes another return into Viking territory. First down for the Indians. They will take over at the 34-yard line of Fort Walton Beach, looking to stick it in for 7 and to put this ball game out of reach. Here's Uten out of the shotgun. He's going to hand it off the right-hand side to Mario Banks. Mario, a gain of, we'll say 4 yards. We'll say 5 yards out to the 30-yard line. 2nd and 5 for the Indians. Clock running now, 10:05 showing remaining in this football contest. The Indians trying again to get win number 5 and send a second consecutive graduating class of Vikings home without a victory over Choctawhatchee High School. There's a handoff to Banks. Nope, the keeper, the pitch out this time to Pattison. Pattison is going to fight back up to the line of scrimmage. Not much more. Uten pulled it out of the arms of Banks. Tried the pitch out to Pattison. Read the read option, but Number 9, Nico Bryan for Fort Walton Beach. Had that red from the beginning. Came all the way from the backside linebacker position. Was able to keep Patterson from crossing the line of scrimmage. So 3rd down now for Choctaw from the 29, we'll call it 28-yard line. They need about 4.5 to get a first down. There's Uten. He'll take the snap, looking for a receiver. It's a screen to the inside to Banks, and Banks taken down at the 25-yard line. Very close to the yard to gain marker, but just about a half a yard short, according to your outside line judge. So the Indians will now face 4th and about 3/4 of a yard to go. Uten will stay on with the running clock, 8:51 showing. They'll try to gain the first down and milk another few minutes off of this clock. There's Uten in the shotgun. He's got Fain to his left, trips to the left. He's going to keep it himself, call his own number, out across the 30. He's got room to the outside and inside of the 20-yard line. There's the dual threat quarterback. Brady Uten carries it down to the 16-yard line. The Indians with a first down. Now with the ability to run another few minutes off the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, 8:32 showing. And the Indians trying to put this thing out of reach. One more touchdown will just about seal it for the Big Green. Now Uten back in the shotgun once again. Fain back in to his right. He'll bring running back left to right. They'll go with the sweep across the outside. He's got a little bit of room to get inside the 10-yard line. Good looking run there to the outside. That's going to be number 8 on the carry. That's going to be number 8. That's Tanner Pattison, the 5'10", 170-pound senior who came across the line in motion. Took the sweet handoff and bumped it inside the 10-yard line. So now 2nd and 4 to go from the Indian, we'll call it the 9-yard line. Uten back in shotgun. Hands it off to Fain. Fain off the left-hand side and swamped at the line of scrimmage. Good defensive play there. Once again, that is the inside backer, number 8, Carl Dorn, who crashed the line of scrimmage and kept Fain from making any sort of noise on that. We've got a Viking player down on the field. That's number 9, Nico Bryan. Bryan has been in on a number of defensive plays so far this evening. You hate to see this happen so late in the football game, both for Bryan, who is very frustrated with his injury, and also for the Viking defense, who need a play now more than ever and have just lost one of their most influential playmakers, at least for the following snap. 3rd and we'll call it a long 4 from the Indians as that play gets back to the line of scrimmage. It's marked at the 9-yard line. They've got to get just inside the 6. Uten's going to hand it off to the, nope, keeps it himself once again. Uten drives down inside the 5 to the 1-yard line. Great play fake there. It looked like he gave it to Fain off the right-hand side. Fain dove into the line as if he had the ball. Uten pulled it back out of his chest, kept it off the left-hand side. The edge was sealed by the left tackle. A great effort there. And Uten able to drive it down to the 1-yard line. 28-7, 6:54 showing. And the Indians looking to put the final nail in the coffin. Uten back in the shotgun. He's going to hand it right up the middle, waiting for the signal. Not quite there. The outside line judge says that ball was planted just inside the one. Reggie Fain dove at the goal line, but just could not get the ball across. So now the Indians, tick-tock, tick-tock, 2nd and goal to go from inside the 1. And frankly, that may not have been the worst time for Fain not to get in. 7 points would be nice, but taking another minute or so off the clock doesn't hurt your feelings either. There's Uten. He's going to give it to the right on a sweep, and in for the touchdown. Number 9, that is Detarian Grant, the 6', 170-pound sophomore who comes around the left-hand side, grabs the sweep, takes it off tackle to the right, and sticks it in for the Indian. Touchdown. 6:09 showing, 34-7 on the scoreboard. As the Big Green take this one just out of reach of the Viking. Here comes the extra point. The snap, the kick. It is up, and it is good. 35-7, the Indians lead the Vikings as they look for number 5 in a row We'll have kickoff for you when you come back. You're watching Big Green Indian Football. $35-7 in the 47th installment of the game. Comes our kickoff expert once again, Connor Hollis. The right footer working off the left hash. There's the big boot downfield. And that kick will go out of bounds around the 30-yard line. So an illegal procedure call on the Indian kicker will give the Vikings some of the better field position they've had so far this half. Most of the Viking drives have started down inside of their own 20-yard line. This one will come out to the 35 off the left hash. And that's where the Vikings will start with 6:09 showing remaining in the game. If the Vikings want any chance at sparking a comeback, now is the best opportunity for them to make something happen. The Indian coaches out on the field working with their different unit positions. The Viking offense huddled up, talking strategy on the far side. Quinn back under center now for the, well, I should say back in the shotgun now for the Vikings. He'll take the snap, looks down the field, trying to throw, and he's got a receiver underneath the defense. 36 is your receiver. That's going to be Jeffrey Hill, his first snag of the evening. Good for, we'll call it 3 yards, so 2nd and 7 now for the Vikings, working their way out of their own territory out to around the 37-yard line. Quinn remains. He's got a pair of running backs in the backfield with him. He'll drop back looking to pass. Can't get the ball away, and he is going to be snagged. Dropped down to the turf. Outstanding defensive effort there from number 34. That is Miles Brantley, who came storming off the back end and ends up with the sack, the first of the game for him. And what little Fort Walton Beach gained on play number 1, they give back and some on play number 2. Now 3rd and around 8 yards to go as the Vikings work from their own 29-yard line. Quinn will make his way back to the sideline as number 6, Brendan Carter, takes back reins on the offensive side of the ball. Kenyon Redmond will join him in the pistol formation. Whistle on the field. The Vikings call a timeout with 4:52 remaining on the clock here in the first half. Coach Dorn wants to bring his guys to the sideline and discuss strategy. The Indians will do the same as they realize that one more stop of the Viking offense would all but assure that this game has reached its conclusion before it reaches its conclusion. Back to the pistol formation goes Carter, Redmond behind him. He'll take the snap. Redmond stays in the block. There's Carter. He's got a man out on the left-hand side. Number 4, Hudson Robinson slips a couple of tackles before finally being taken down by number 11, Xavier Kane Fuller. That is one of the bigger plays that Fort Walton Beach has had since midway through the first quarter, as Carter finds a receiver out on the out-hand side. Fort Walton Beach trying to get some offense going. Choctaw really focusing defensively on that play, on stopping any plays up the middle. You want to make sure, however, if you're Choctaw, keep the receivers to the inside. Don't let them get to the sideline. The defensive backs playing very tight coverage. Carter going to throw out to the right, and he has got a man, and it is incomplete. Number 1, Jimmy Hart for the Indians slipped, and it looked like number 28, Jamison Brundage for the Vikings would have a big gain. That would have been another first down and maybe more down the sideline after Hart slipped, but Brundage unable to hang on to the rock. It slips through the mitts, and it costs Fort Walton Beach a major opportunity. 4:28 now showing left in the game. 2nd and 10 for Carter and his Vikings. Back to the shotgun, calls a man in motion, sends him all the way across the formation, takes a snap looking downfield. There's another quick out route. It is in the hands of number 15, who gets driven out of bounds. That's Bryce Carter, who gets driven to the sideline. Number 12 for the Indians, Brady Peters, able to come up with the stop. 3rd and 2 now for the Vikings, but he was able to get out of bounds with the football, was Carter, on his first catch of the evening. So the clock stops as the Vikings are now back inside of Indian territory for the first time in their last handful of drives. Carter all alone in the shotgun formation. 3 receivers to the bottom of your screen, twins to the top. Carter's going to hang on to the ball. It's a quarterback keeper and nowhere to go that time as number 66, the big defensive tackle, that's Jimmy Grace, stuck his nose inside of the offensive line and prevented them from doing anything. And it is a turnover. Carter fumbled the ball underneath the stack, and Choctaw comes up with it. How about that for a turn of events? Fort Walton Beach's best opportunity since the middle of the first quarter gets snubbed on their 3rd turnover of the evening, and Choctaw's offense makes their way back onto the field. That is a crush on the morale of the Fort Walton Beach Vikings. Choctaw back on the field. There's the snap. Unable to hang on to the football is number 12, Brady Peters, taking the quarterback snack. He's able to recover and turn it into a 7-yard run. That was actually relatively impressive, all things considered. Fort Walton Beach really keyed on the quarterback after Peters put the ball on the turf, but able to concentrate, pick it back up, and turn what could have been a disaster into a, we'll call it a 5.5-yard gain. So 2nd and now 5 to go for the Indians. Peters under center now as he takes over quarterbacking duties. Back in the shotgun along with Fain. He'll hand it to Mario Banks. Mario is going to carry a defender out across the line. Number 55, Caleb Williams, had him stopped about 3 yards behind the line, but Mario Banks wanted the first down, earned the first down. He carried that linebacker across the marker, and Choctaw now marching into Fort Walton Beach territory down to the 41-yard line. 3:28 showing on the clock. Tick-tock for the Indians. Peters remains in at quarterback. Fain with him in the backfield in the shotgun. He'll fake the handoff. Quick pass out to the right and knocked away. Great defensive there. Great defensive effort from number 21, DeQuay Upshaw. Upshaw recognized what was happening, was able to dive in and stick his right hand in between ball and receiver. We have an injured Viking down on the field. That's number 50, Daniel Cobb, who is another player who's had some high impact plays. He is really in pain there down on the 42-yard line. He was wedged in between a couple of his own players. Looks like they're working on his left leg, left knee perhaps. We'll see how he makes his way off the field and give you an update when we can. Look at the Indians huddle with 3:10 left to go as they look to stick a stake in this bad boy and put the game away once and for all. Just about out of reach for the Vikings without a perhaps defensive return for a touchdown here, which is looking less and less likely. They have not had a turnover since back in the first quarter, if I recall correctly. 3:10 showing on the clock, an injury timeout. We'll be back after this. You're watching Big Green Indian football. Cobb makes his way off the field under the assistance from trainers. He was unable to put any weight on that left leg, and you hate to see his season come to an end that way. That's unfortunate. These young men put so much blood and sweat and tears into this game, and to have to leave with an injury with just 3 minutes left in your final game of the season will tear at you. There's Fain off the right-hand side. He's going to get about 6 on the run. Carl Dorn able to come up with another stop on number 22, Reggie Fain, the freshman. And I'll tell you, between the two running backs, Fain, the 9th grader, and Super Mario Banks, the 10th grader, there is no question that the Indian run game is going to be in very good shape, at least as far as the skill positions go over the next couple of years. If that offensive line continues to grow and continues to get better, Choctaw is going to be a force to be reckoned with in terms of the rushing game of the next few years. There's Peters back in the quarterback position, directing Fain off to his left. He'll take the snap. He'll hand it to Fain. Fain off the right-hand side across the 40, out to the 30, across the 25, and inside the 20-yard line before he is finally taken down. Carl Dorn earns another tackle, but not before Fain's able to pick up a good 20 yards on that run. And the Indians now once again inside the red zone, the 19-yard line, and a first down, 2:18 on the clock, and it is running for the Choctaw Big Green Indians as they lead 35-7 in this matchup. Peters back in the shotgun formation with Fain to his left. He'll take the snap. Hands it off again, off the left-hand side. That's number 24. I apologize, that is not Fain. That's Mario Banks, the 10th grader, who bumps it into the side of the 10-yard line down to the 6, and the Indians are knocking. They're going to try to strike one more time before this game reaches its conclusion. They are just wearing down the front 7 of the Fort Walton Beach Vikings right now to the 6-yard line. Peters back in the shotgun, back with Banks to his left. It's another handoff. Banks tries to squeeze it out to the left-hand side. He's got room, and he's in. Super Mario Banks with another touchdown. A sweet run off the left-hand side. Great blocking by the left-hand side of the offensive line. The line turned everybody inside. They gave Banks a one-on-one effort, and Banks said, "Thank you very much. I will take 6," and he does. 41-7. The Indians put this one away. A $143 with the PAT left up for grabs. The snap, the hold, the kick is up. It is good. So the Indians take a 42-7 lead and are well on their way to earning number 5 in a row and taking a 5-game lead in this series overall, courtesy of the Mario Banks touchdown. 42-7, a minute 35 with a running clock to end the game. You're watching Big Green Indian football. The fight song of the Choctaw Indians rings throughout Fort Walton Beach, and no doubt that is not the last time tonight. that the words "Holy Moly" will echo across Joe Etheridge Stadium. 34 seconds and the clock is running for the remainder of this half. It may not matter. Time for just the one kickoff left to go, and we will call it a game. Five seconds showing on the clock, and we won't even need the kick. The Choctaw players make their way victorious to the sideline as Big Green wins number 5 in a row. The 47th edition of the game ends 42-7. The Choctaw fans storming the field, pom-poms in the air as they emerge victorious once again. We want to thank all of you for watching this evening. Thanks to the WBGI crew, Trey Mapes, Jake McDonald, Armando Reyes, and of course, Hillary Brown, your media, I don't know what, professor, instructor. What's your official title, Hillary? She's going to go with teacher. You had so much glory waiting to be grabbed, and you left it all in the box. That's all right. We're very grateful to the WBGI crew, who I can tell you put in an incredible amount of work to make sure that this game was brought to you live. Congratulations to the Big Green Indians as they win number 5 in a row here at Joe Etheridge Stadium. Your final score, 42-7. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Rob Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show. Shameless self-promotion to end the game. You guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you next week as Choctaw plays their final game of the year against the Bay Tornadoes. A playoff spot is still up for grabs. The fate of this season will not be determined until next Friday. We'll see you then. Have a good night. For everybody at the WBGI crew, I'm Rob Brown. Go Big Green!